Welcome back to the channel. This video, I'm going to cover something that nobody asked for, and that's replacing the airbag module in the McLaren MP4 12C, 650S, 675 LT, and maybe even the 570 should be very similar to this. As you can tell, I've got this apart because I already took this module out to have this reprogrammed. So what happened was, while I was doing my soft close doors, I had a plug to a seatbelt that I didn't realize was unplugged when I turned the ignition on. It gave a fault for the airbag, and once you do that, you can't clear it. You have to either have the dealer clear it, or you can do what I did, and you can take this module out, ship it off to a couple different companies that do this, but they will take it apart and reprogram the EEPROM. They'll basically take the code out, recode it to a no-fault condition, and send it back to you. The place that I sent it to, they received it on a Friday morning, and Friday afternoon they sent it back out to me, so they had a very quick turnaround on that. But then I was asked to do a video on how to do this. So this is going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to take it apart and show you all the steps of taking it apart, but I am going to show you what I did in the order that I did it, so you can get a good feel for what's happening there. And I mean, I could do a time lapse of doing it back together and then reverse it, but that would look really weird. So here's what we have got. First things first, you want to roll down your windows, because that's going to make things a lot easier when you open them up. Additionally, you want to move your seats forward. The action going this way for the back is manual, but actually moving it forward is a power function on both seats. I forgot to do the driver's seat, so it's going to be a little bit harder to deal with on that side, but it is much easier if you move them both. So you want to move both seats forward, roll your windows down, and then we can disconnect the battery. And you must disconnect the battery when dealing with that module. You do not want to have power to the car when you unplug it or plug it back in. So how do we disconnect the battery? From here, we've got this rubber trim piece that will come up. That just slides right off. You've got another trim piece that is Velcro on all these points. And we have got plastic pins that go in all of these spots. And it'll be very apparent where all of those are. So you have to pop all of those out. And they are plastic screws. If you take the screw out to where it's just the plastic insert, you can get under that and just pop those out. Or even if you just grab on this and just pull up, they'll start to pull out as long as you have the screw completely out or most of the way out. So you can take all of those out. Then you have the actual container part of this. And here you can tell we've got those screws that all go across the bottom that will separate these two pieces. And then you can take one out at a time. You don't have to remove this one if you don't want to. I took these out to do something else that I will end up doing in another video. So you only have to remove this piece up here. And then the negative terminal right here. It's the only one you have to disconnect. You've got a 10mm bolt on top. Loosen it up, pull it off, and you want to have power disconnected from the system for at least 5 minutes before disconnecting that module. But don't worry, it will take you more than 5 minutes to get to what we've got back here. So what we have to do is remove the entire interior in the back. And it's really not that difficult, it's just a little bit time consuming. So the side panel pieces, you'd have your B-pillar, it'll go right here. This pops off, as well as the piece that's up here, and the center piece that goes across the back. All of those just pop off. To get this piece back here off, you do have to pop that middle one off first. And I'll link in another video for doing the soft closed doors. You can actually see the whole process of pulling those panels off. It's really quite easy. That will leave you with the top panel that is right here and comes down. That part isn't as tricky as you think. If you fold the carpet back, you can get to where you see these bolt holes. So you've got 10mm bolts that are on all these spots that go all the way across the back there. And then you could fold it up, but you still have some more. All of these smaller screws are 9/32 the metric I'll figure out and put on the screen there. I just happened to grab sockets of whatever until I found one that fit. So you've got to take all of those out. They're very apparent, what you see there. Once you have the carpet out, the carpet is just velcroed in down there at the bottom. You can pull that right out. That red wire that's on the fuse box, you won't have that unless you've added one, as I have done. So that's not normal, don't worry if that's not there. So this carpet piece will not completely come out until you disconnect the net and all of the hooks that are on that. And those are actually a hex, sort of an Allen key will get those out. I don't know what size they are because I actually cheated when I did that. I just actually grabbed them and just pulled out and twisted while I did it, and that was enough to loosen it up and gave me a gap to where I could turn the screw by hand. Putting them back in, I haven't done yet, so I don't know what size it is for that, but if you got a complete pack, you should be able to figure that one out. But that took a little bit of effort. You do actually have to get those out to get the carpet loose before you can get to the rest of this. They actually do bolt in to the other piece that's under here. And now, since you have visualized everything that you have to take apart here, we can actually get to the point of the module itself, and that's what plugs in right here. It is in the middle and is actually under this piece right here. You do have to take the nuts loose and everything. Those are all 10 millimeter. There are 4 bolts on here, and then there are also 4 bolts on the module itself. These two are pretty apparent, and then on the other side there is one more that's apparent, and then there's one that's hiding. So you see all those. That one is a little bit tougher to get to. You don't notice it. So if you pull on it, it doesn't pull up real easily because you forgot that one. So this plug, to get it loose, you've got the blue slider, and that's actually going to force the whole plug to connect back in. So it's going to be latched in. You've got to push on the release to get this to open out. This should slide right out. When you put force on it, it'll pull it out, and when you go to put it back in, you push it in, and this blue piece will go until it locks. It's probably going to be easiest to get this disconnected and then try to pull the module out rather than fighting the wire. That's what I did. At that point, you have got the module out, you can ship it off, and then you do what I'm about to do, which is the reverse order of this. So we would get the module back in, take this connector, push it in, it should lock in, make sure this is bolted in, this is bolted in, and then go back in the reverse order for putting this entire thing together. You might notice there's a plug right here that goes on this ring, and that I believe goes to ring the proximity on the key. When you're taking that out, make sure you observe that it's there, because it's, as you can see, not a real long wire. And if you didn't know that your interior was made of leather-covered cardboard, now you know. We've got these bolts that go across the bottom, which you saw before. As you see, if you've got the carpet lined up correctly, you got little screw holes, and that's for the net pieces. This is a 2.5 millimeter on those, so we'll get all those connected. And then these interior pieces just click right back in. Popping them out, just grab them from the top. There's a spot up here, these two on the side. Just give it a little wiggle, it should pop right out. The fuse panel, you do have to grab from the top. And there's little pins that go in here. So if you move those pins down, it'll make it so it'll loosen up to where you can pop it out from the top, and the bottom just slides right out. All right, we're down to the point where we've got most of this back together. The only thing we have to put back in are the side panels here and across the back. But I'm going to go ahead and put power back to the battery so I can check and make sure that there isn't another problem, that the code is in fact gone, before I put the whole thing back together and then find out, oops, I have to take it back out. So I'm going to connect the battery back and then put these interior panels back in after to make sure everything's good. And that is as simple as taking our negative terminal. And if you notice, the car just locked back. And that's why you want to make sure you've got a door open and windows down and that kind of thing, because you don't want to get locked out. So we've got that back connected. I'm going to check for functionality and then get back to putting the rest of the interior back in. Don't forget to pull your manually released straps through here, making sure that it's perfectly straight, not bound up, because otherwise when you go to pull it, it won't pull. And remember, you've got little clips here, and those little clips have little pins right next to them. If you don't have those lined up, this is not going to go in so easy. You might break it, so don't force it. But it should go almost all the way on. Give it a tap, and you're good to go. Same thing with these down here. Make sure the bottom, you kind of start with this end first on the inside. Slide those pins in, slide in, goes right in. And the last piece to this puzzle, since the interior is back together, is to put the front back together. So that's going to go back in the reverse order. Again, putting this piece in, screws down here, pins up here, get all that back. I'm not going to do that on this video because I've got to have it apart for another video. So that will conclude this one, and I hope you found it informative and it'll work out for you. I do recommend going this route if you've got to take the airbag module out, like for the instance that I did, or not say that you had a wreck, but in a wreck you would have to do that. Sometimes if the battery goes completely dead and the BMS goes into a sleep mode, that can also cause that airbag fault. But for whatever reason you have the airbag fault, if you don't want to take it to the dealer for whatever reason, you can do this, pop it out, ship it off. There's a few different places that do it, and they just clear it, send it back to you. This one cost me $81, including shipping. So far cheaper than taking it to a dealer anyway. You don't have to transport the car, anything like that, but you do have to put in a little bit of time in getting that module out. But if you're several hundred miles or even thousands of miles from a dealer, this will be an option for you, at least in the United States. I'm not sure if anywhere else in the world does this. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed, hit the notification bell because I do videos periodically on maintenance and repairs and that kind of thing on these McLarens and some other cars. I'll probably do some other stuff as well. And thanks for watching.